Ni hao. Good afternoon. So here we are, journey in 13 segments, and we are at number 8 today and number 9. So these are the first 13. I'm just showing them each time, so you have an orientation point. And these were the first 7 that we covered in 3 weeks, in 3 lectures, 7 segments. So what I was trying in these first segments was going over the crisis of not just in higher education, in all education, and not just in the United States or Europe, but seemingly everywhere. It's a global crisis where students have been produced, not dumb students, quite smart, but they have not been produced in the way that we would like to. And that is making our students, helping them to become more creative, to become more innovative, to be more critical, to be on top of things, to be engaged from very early on. So these are the kinds of things that we have neglected. And we don't quite know how this happened, but we all feel that we need to implement some changes. So what I was trying to do in the first couple of segments, showing what some experts in the fields of higher education and education in general have complained about. Yeah? There was Sir Ken Robinson, there was Keith Sawyer, and there was Nancy Budwig that I brought into this picture as some experts who have made the argument that we are modeling our education system after last century's conveyor belt. That we put all the students of the same age onto the belt, and then we put content into their heads, into their minds, and then when they are done, they get out into the real world and can function. And they can. That's not really the big problem. But the argument was we can do a lot better. And we need particular creative abilities in the future that we have been neglecting. So within this context, I brought up the term of divergent thinking and also thinking outside the box as something that we all urgently need to work on. But it would be easy if we knew how to. Yeah? Let's be creative, and then we are creative. So there is something that we need to work on, that we need to establish. And within this context, Nancy Budwig brought up the terms deep learning and adaptive expertise. To be an expert in one area and then be able to transfer the expertise into other areas. Again, this is something that we would like to promote. Realizing that learning is highly situated and that we learn in particular context, we've got to move out of these contexts into new contexts and be able to function in these new contexts outside the classroom in the real world. So that's where I brought in a change from content to processes. This is just a change in focus, because so far we have been focusing on content teaching. Whatever the courses are that you have been taking in college, in school, they always were around a theme, a particular content. And we don't want to do away with that. That's important. But what we want to focus on pedagogically is the processes by which we have been learning these contents. So the processes, and I brought up I think it was last week in segment 7 and segment 6, a couple of these processes, like portfolios, like working in groups, like working on projects. And that's exactly what I want to continue today and clarify a little bit what I was talking about when I introduced you to qualitative inquiry. In segment 9, that will follow, I will turn to narrative and basically make the same argument there, that narrative as a sub-component of qualitative is hopefully helping us to establish the same kind of new competencies in students. So let's turn to segment 8, doing qualitative inquiry. And what I've picked out is observations. In my course, I train students to do observing outside the classroom in a somewhat rigid fashion. I'm not telling them what to look at, but I'm trying to give them scaffolds in how to work toward a productive outcome. So observation is considered the capstone or the queen of qualitative inquiry. Learning how to observe others is a prerequisite for all other kinds of qualitative inquiry exercises. So what is at the core here is to make something that is usual, that is everyday, that is mundane, to turn it into something interesting and learning something new from it. Yeah? To take us out of the everyday routines and look at these routines from a different angle. So that would be a way also to change routines. And at the same time, this is moving from simple people watching, something that we always do when we walk, when we sit, when we have a coffee, we watch others, what they are doing, but moving from this simple kind of superficial way of watching to learning from others, to learning from watching others and learning also about oneself, the person who is observing. So those are the major ideas, but here are a couple more concrete objectives. Yeah, on the one hand, the big learning objective almost always is helping the students to manage uncertainty and complexity. And in this course also, moving from just watching to a deeper understanding of other people's actions, what they are doing, and also hopefully moving through what they are doing, descriptions of what they are doing, to a better understanding. Why are they doing what they're doing? Yeah? So this is behind observing people. In this process, the categories that we use to describe when we take notes of others, they have to become partly at least questionable. Yeah? We realize that the categories, that the descriptions that we give of others, that they are provisional, that they are first descriptions, and from there we move to deeper understanding, to other categories, to other categorizations that hopefully help us in better understanding what is going on and ultimately also the motivations of others. And in order to do that, there are there's one distinction between these two categories of micro and macro level. I will get to this in a moment. So what I'm doing when I'm taking my students outside the classroom to observe other people, I let them pick their own field. I give them a couple of choices. Like on campus, not too far away from campus, because maybe a little bit problematic. But on campus, a good target are the dining places, the dining hall. Another good place are cafes, yeah? Places where people hang out and have a coffee. Then another very good place is the library. Okay? Sitting in the library and observing others. Or public places on campus where people congregate, sometimes faculty and students together. So picking a number of these and saying, okay, you can decide which one you want to pick for a period of 5 weeks to go back and take notes. Maybe twice a week, maybe an hour, maybe a little longer. take notes. Yeah? And then you work these notes up into reports, into short, reflective reports. What have I seen? Yeah? Because the notes themselves don't speak. So you have to work with these notes reflectively and say, what did I look at? Why did I look at whatever it is that I looked at? Okay, so moving the student over these 5 weeks into a more and more reflective position on what they have collected in terms of notes. There are readings, of course there are readings, and these readings hopefully help the student to make more sense of their activity in the field. And then we have class, and in class we have a couple of practices with visual material, and that's what I want to do with you in a moment. In addition, we have the scaffold of small groups where the students bring their experiences, their frustrations sometimes, yeah, and they have others who also have similar experiences. And there is one peer learning assistant who has done it in the year before. So all these are scaffolds that supposedly manage the route for the learner onto some productive experience. And in addition, I also give at the very beginning already 5 or 6 of the previous semester's students' reports, their finals. Yeah, again, you remember Sir Robinson, who said, look, we need to furnish our students with those kinds of products because that's inspiring. And if they use that, that is positive. They shouldn't be, well, if they quote from there, then of course they quote. Yeah? But it's not copying, it's not a bad thing to do, to work with experience of students who have been through this. So all these are the scaffolds that they are receiving in a semester, and over 5 weeks they are out in the field and observe people. So what I want to do now is turn to a little exercise that I use in class. I will shorten it a little bit in order to prepare the students and help them also to see something, potentially at least, that they at first sight have not seen. And in order to do this, I will take you to this place out somewhere. I'll tell you in a second where it is. And this is what it looks like. And it turns into a fast motion in a second. So you see people walking from right to left, from left to right, coming up the escalator, on the other hand going down the escalator, some people standing, a lot of people walking, and it looks like a zoo. And it looks kind of as if they are aimlessly, just moving around. Okay. In the classroom, I also compare this to a video that I have of ants. Ants, crawling over the floor. And the funny thing is there, if you look close enough, they rarely have accidents where they hit on each other. They have a skill of, like those people, not hitting on each other. All right, so if we wanted to, and this is the video that the students receive, and they go into it and are asked to describe, to take notes of what they see. And exactly, they come up with, here is a group of young boys and girls standing. Here is a person standing. And then if you fast forward, you see this person still standing there after quite a while. This is a 3-minute clip. And at the end, I suppose it's a she. She still is standing, has changed slightly her position, but is standing there, and she is facing this side, this side here on this end. Okay, we don't have the time to get a little bit more into this, so let me just summarize. What we have here is people walking different directions. Some are single, some walk in groups, mainly right to left, left to right, coming up the escalator, on the other hand going down the escalator, and most at a normal speed. You can see a couple of them running. And it's interesting because from the camera perspective, they run from the left to the right. This gives you a clue. Then there are some people standing, and I want to work with those who stand a little bit more. And they stand at particular places. Remember this one woman? She faced, this is the Kyoto train station, she faced from where the trains came. Yeah, the other side is where the buses are. So people come from the buses and go to the trains. People come from the trains and go to the buses. Yeah, and some other people do some other business. And downstairs, I don't think there's an underground, but there's a huge shopping center, and you can eat there. All right. So, but look, one quick thing, because I'm not telling my students that this is a train station and this is a Kyoto. They realize it's somewhere in Asia. They think it's in China because I'm in China all the time. But no. But as soon as they know, and as you know, it's a train station, a number of subcategories are coming into play. What do people do at train stations? They what? Train. They watch trains. Oh, yeah. They're waiting. They are waiting for trains, right? Good. Yeah. There's waiting going on. Let's go after that a little bit. Yeah. Those people who stand, they may be waiting because they are too early. So they wait for a train. But they may also be waiting for someone to pick up. And those are two different, totally different kinds of waitings. Yeah. Knowing that this is a train station, you can already go into this. The activities of these waiters are very different, very interesting. Yeah. And it comes with no surprise. But what we want to do is, typically at least, is trying to find out from not knowing that it is a train station and bringing our preconceptions into it and realizing that people are doing different things who are standing. All right, let's look at those people who are standing there a little bit more in detail. So what we have here are three ladies, women, in black. Oops, excuse me. And we'll follow them. And look at their feet. Yeah. The three of them, their feet point to a middle. And it's pointing, they all stand in a way so that they point toward where the trains are coming from. So with that already, we could argue most likely they are waiting for someone. Okay? So let's see what happens. And they are busy. This one is continuously looking. She raises her right arm, bows, and indeed, someone is joining the group, and off they walk. And we can speed this up a little bit, because they walk first in this line, and then the formation changes, and they walk in this parallel formation. Okay, a little bit more. We are going after them. So what is happening here? The greeting. Yeah, we identify this as a greeting also. The person comes, and then they walk off. Okay. One more time, and now in slow motion. And I want you in particular to watch this person. Yeah? She is facing the person who comes from the train. She's standing here, right? There's the greeting going on. They don't seem to greet, but we don't have access to their facial expression. But now watch this one. Watch this one. Everybody moves to the left, and she walks back. Did you see this? one step back, and another back. Why is she walking back? Huh? Here, one more time. One step back and the other one. And then a tiny little step forward, and then another step forward, and now full forward. Why is she walking back? I saw that, and I thought, why is she walking back? I have no idea. Do you have any explanation? Okay. Maybe it's a single case. So here, on the left-hand side, you see two women standing and waiting as well, one with a red dress and the other one with a white. They also, we don't have the time now, they face the trains. Yeah. So I assumed that they are waiting for someone. And indeed, the next shot that I have here is someone has arrived. So let's watch. Again, watch their feet. Okay, here they walk. And they maintain this formation. The two women who were there first walk in front, and the newcomer walks in the back. Yeah. By the way, that was the same kind of formation with the first couple of people. Yeah. Those who had been waiting start walking away, and the newcomer follows. Maybe nothing special, nothing interesting here. So let's look at it one more time, and now again in slow motion. And I want you to watch their feet. Okay? So at this point, the three are having a conversation. Yeah? The male just had come from the train, supposedly, and their feet are all pointing toward the middle. There's an imaginary center here in the middle. Okay? So now let's see how this changes. Look at the woman in red first. Excuse me. Yeah? Did you see this? Okay, let's go back. So here's the center. All feet are pointing to the middle in the center. And now the left foot of the red dress moves a little bit left. Then the right foot moves a little bit left. Now she's standing, and now she's walking. In a second. It's slow motion. Okay? So one more time. So it's centered. First, the left foot moves left. There. Then the right foot. So now the center is gone. Right? Everybody's feet, except of the male, are pointing still to the center. Okay, so the feet of the woman in red clearly moved early on already. So she did not, from the center, immediately walked away, but signaled, so to speak, with the movement of her feet that she is ready to leave. Okay. Now let's watch the woman in white. Yeah? Let's start a little earlier. Okay. Yeah? Her feet are pointing to the center. And here the feet are moving, right, in the other direction. And here she is ready to go. But did you see what is happening? She also makes 2 steps back. Do you see this? One more time. Here she stands, and the feet are now pointing in the other direction. She moves 2 steps back, and then she starts going, but he doesn't follow, so she moves her feet back to the middle, and then they all got the message, let's go. All right. I don't know whether I could convince you here of anything. but there's something interesting, potentially at least, going on. That our feet are telling messages that we typically don't see. And that we potentially in our verbal messages of what we talk about may be different. Okay? So they don't necessarily say, let's go, and then everybody goes, but rather that their bodies are moving in a particular direction and signaling what the next action will be. So what we have here, okay, let's summarize. But I work through this in detail, a little bit like I worked with you, trying to interest the learners who have their own field and go out into their own field and have them realize that there's something hidden. Out there's a lot of stuff that we take for granted that is hidden. Okay, so what we have here at the macro level is the general level. We have weighting. Yeah, and already dropped the walking, because the walking itself is also interesting to follow up a little bit. But we have two different weightings, at least two different ones. One is for others to arrive, and one is for the train to arrive so that they can hop on the train. Good. We are done with that. Describe that in a little bit more detail and work that up. Then, for those who wait for others, we have a greeting procedure. And that's where we are in rituals. Yeah? A greeting is a very interesting situation. Yeah? It's not just ni hao and then the business is going. No, and what we saw here, in the first one at least, there were all these rituals of bowing down. And then there is the leave-taking procedure. Yeah? Leaving is not we go, but rather it is signaled. And I have these reports from students in the dining hall. They observed tables of other students, and they were surprised that they all kind of get up, yeah, at the same time and walk away. And they don't hear, are you ready, are you ready, are you ready, let's go. Nothing of that. But then they realize that there are small little cues, like people with their plates put their utensils. They don't eat with chopsticks in the United States, but their spoons and their forks to the side. They order it nicely. And so there are, in these rituals, there are cues, there are signals of what the next activity will be. So it doesn't have to be verbal. A lot of these are non-verbal. All right, that's what we uncovered a little bit, and this is what's coming out of a project like this, like observing. Yeah? There are a lot of other interesting aspects that can be observed. Now, how do learners walk or move through this project? Yeah, so there is definitely, with the help of the peer learning assistants, with the help of other students, and also with the help, hopefully, of the instructor, there's an increasing competence in how to take notes. Yeah? Then they narrow their focus of what I just did of, let's say, waiting, or even if you break waiting down, leave-taking, or greeting, or both. Yeah? So those are a number of observations then, or notes, that can be worked up into a little theoretical paper of how leave-taking in the dining hall or leave-taking outside when people meet and then depart, how this takes place. So the focus becomes more narrow. Yeah? You can't do everything, and this is how learners typically start out. I want to do everything. I want to get everything that is happening there. Absolutely impossible. Then there are new habits of note-taking and styles also that the students, that the learners uncover about themselves, yeah, over these 4 weeks, becoming more productive. The most important part, I think, is that slowly and gradually the learners are making these projects their own. They own it, they give it their signature. Yeah, each project is totally different. None ever are the same. And in this process, they begin to reflect more and more on their own categories, the categories that they use in order to describe. That these descriptions are not innocent. They come from certain expectations. If you are in a station, you expect certain things. If you're in a dining hall, you expect certain things. But if you move back and pretend you don't know what's going on, you give it a fresh, a new eye, so to speak. And this is what I call a navigation between objectivity and subjectivity. On the one hand, we are subjectively involved in describing other people's actions. On the other hand, we are striving for objectivity, but very well knowing that we cannot be objective. There is no objectivity. And we have a couple of readings that back that very nicely up. So it is moving back and forth between being involved and looking at it from a distance, as if we are from Mars. So these are the kinds of activities in scholarly activities in which learners increasingly begin to become engaged. And in doing so, this is an example for managing the complexity and the uncertainty in a project like this, accomplishing some collaboration across the differences and the commonalities with other students, and in doing so, working toward something that they own, a project that becomes theirs with their own signature. Thank you.